So today I wanted to talk about these parking and no parking zones that are being brought up and developed in Kathmandu. And there's a wide backlash of businessmen in terms of why the government is suddenly removing parking from core city areas and how that's been affecting businesses. On top of my mind right now, I can think of both the New Road and Kingsway have been declared a no vehicle zone. And honestly, I know initially it'll be a bit of a hassle for businessmen and people who live in the area. The one thing about Nepal is that we don't have really segregated and distinguished zones like industrial areas, school areas, residential areas, businesses. They kind of all just happen in the same area. You have a school here, you might have a factory next to it, you might have another school right nearby, you might have offices on the other side of the street. It's all in the same area, and I guess that's the beauty of Kathmandu. But abroad, these designated areas are very separate. You're never allowed to have some sort of workshop, like a motor workshop, metallurgy workshop, a industry in a residential area. They're quite far away. Schools also have designated areas. Offices have like certain areas where they're just offices and restaurants, and then there's free open space like parks and parking lots. But here it's like, everything's just in one landscape. And as a result, parking has become very confusing, honestly. One, Nepal is finally, and I think a decade late, finally introducing underground basements with proper parking. Like, I've been abroad where there are like 4 or 5 basement levels below the ground level of just parking. Heck, there are even buildings in like center core areas, like I would think the Marg area, right? Where there are like 5-6 story buildings with just pillars, nothing else. And there's like a loop ramp that takes a car that you need to drive up and down on each side to go up and down. And so the whole damn building is just parking lots. And you need to go to that specific area to park in like a downtown area. You can't just park on the street. Yes, there is a street parking option available, but in very limited quantity. And so most people just pay for parking in these big parking buildings. And Nepal, well, we're not there yet. I think we've slowly started planning that out, but it'll take some time. And I'm saying this because there's been like a wide boom in number of both 2-wheeler and 4-wheeler vehicles in the last decade. The purchasing power and the need, because our public transport is not that great. Like, it's doable, but you've seen the state of public transport. They're not on time. They try to fit in too many. Like, I remember going in micros, it's always like, will I find a space? Will it be on time? And like, do I have to stand up? I've seen people just dangling off the doors in micros and buses because they just cram as many people as possible to make the most money, which isn't always the safest, isn't always the comfiest, isn't always the best option. And then because of this, a lot of people are now buying their own private car or private bike at least. And when you have a vehicle, you need to park it somewhere. You can't just leave it on the road. And I think our city is doing a good job in trying to like finally figure things out. Like, it's a bit late, but it's never too late in that sense. And there's been certain zones, certain core district businessy zones that like New Road and the Marg, which the government's been like, no more parking on the road. You have to go to our designated areas. And why I've been giving you this background story is that it's just the way of the world. Like, everyone's been doing it. It's quite interesting. These no vehicle zones actually initially might see like a drop in economic activity. So like people won't be going there. But once the system is out there and people know, hey, if I pay this much per hour here and it's not too much of a walk, if certain parking areas are made, these no vehicle zones actually end up making more money than the counterpart, which is where vehicles are allowed to run. And that it's just research. Like I'll put some studies on the screen. I've been to so many areas where the core city areas, core touristy areas like the Bar Square areas, they are completely cut off from any vehicular movement. You have to park and you have to walk 10, 15, 20 minutes even to just explore the area. Vehicles, businessmen who run those areas are allowed to bring in their vehicles, but only at night in like certain hours. Not during the day, not during rush hour, not during peak traffic hours. And businesses do run, not maybe the smoothest, but people plan around it and figure it out. And so it's not entirely impossible either. And because it's like in Patandavar Square or Bhaktapur Square, because you don't have to worry about vehicles here and there, people just end up shopping and go around me, and spending more money and spending more time in such areas. And I'm hoping that Nepali people quickly learn this, and now that there are no vehicle zones in the city, I hope these businesses are able to monopolize on that and suddenly be able to, I don't know, make the most out of it. Anyway, let me know what you think. It's a very bipolar topic where there are both yes and no's for and against it. So yeah, see you on the next vlog.